Hey, how you doing, guys? First of all, yes, I'm gonna be talking about there's a very big opportunity and a chance that the Resident Evil 4 remake is actually in the development since I believe it was 2018. Now, this is actually very cool since actually this is not though a confirmation that it really will be happening, but there were so many rumors and also so many sources indicating that the Resident Evil 4 shall be the next remake for Capcom and the next Resident Evil. Of course, we already know that, again, none of this is confirmed, but we do know that the next Resident Evil game will be Resident Evil 8 and will be happening, coming out, I should even say, 2021. Then Resident Evil 4 is indicated most probable release window for it to be happening in 2022. I also have made two videos regarding of the Resident Evil 4 and why it deserves a remake, and I put a lot of time and effort into that video. Please, I encourage you to check it out. I'm sure you will enjoy it much more than this video, even more, because I made it more professional. Also, yes, I'm gonna definitely give some a light or a shine towards the Code Veronica scene, since, well, that does not seem like it's gonna get its opportunity to be remade. But still, yes, I will plug in the description or down in the pinned comments below, so for you to enjoy, because there are far bigger production value, I should perhaps say, but yes, they're more professionally done than current video that you're watching right now. But I wanted to have a general discussion regarding this as well, since it's pretty cool. I definitely want to say it's actually currently getting into a full production, and again, estimated to be released in 2022, that's it. Now, this is actually a new studio founded by the former Platinum Games head Tatsuya Minami, which has been preparing for the project, like I already have mentioned, since 2018. I definitely needed to talk a little bit about as well why not Code Veronica could get some kind of a light or shine, but it seems like because of an estimated value and perhaps on how the sales go, obviously, Resident Evil 4 did far better than Code Veronica, but yet still it's, maybe Capcom wanted to go with Resident Evil 4 because it's a title name game, and even though Resident Evil 3 should never actually happen in the previous time. Guys, if you want to know a lot more about this and why titling isn't exactly correct, and actually Code Veronica was supposed to be Resident Evil 3 not being Code Veronica, I've got plenty of those informations in that video that I already have mentioned about at the, well, almost the beginning of this commentary too. I encourage you to check it out. Now, it's also been understood that director Shinji Mikami, who's officially declined an approach to lead the project himself, but has provided informal advice on its direction, and seeing how this remake can be, have a bit of a blessing towards this original game director himself and what he said. Now, the studio it's also said that there are been in works with this since 2018. Seems like I don't believe that's enough time, since the full production value, of course, if it's true, has started already in, well, this year, if that's correct. Now, there have been few indications, like, for example, that a lot of the studios and actually making these Resident Evil games, and what kind of concerning as well, maybe it's not really concerning, but seems like Resident Evil is going to be an annual release. Now, if they're going to go with the value and the content-wise similarly to Resident Evil 2, then I'm not arguing. I'm actually, please go with that value. If they're going to go with the value of the Resident Evil 3, well, that's going to be a complete fucking disappointment. And Resident Evil 4, mind you, is so many people's beloved game, and I can definitely see and I can definitely respect that too. But if they're going to be underhanding it and, for example, cutting content and cutting stuff out, what the fuck? So it's, nobody really wants that, for example. Now, I understand there were some, not interested or not up to fan base kind of a moments in the Resident Evil 4. I think you know what I'm talking about, especially those escort missions that you had to do. A lot of people hated those missions. A lot of people liked it too. Of course, I'm not going to say everyone hated it, but still, I think that's important for it to be there as well, since this is a remake, and that's what made Resident Evil 4 so much more appealing perhaps to so many other people too, because even though there are some weird moments in the game and people didn't quite like, but a lot of other things have been fantastic. Now, perhaps I should mention, right, if Resident Evil 4 Remake is going to be similar with the gunplay and the combat wise anyway, as it was for the Resident Evil, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, the remakes will be the same as Resident Evil 4 Remake. I mean, that's going to be fantastic, but here's the question we definitely want to value. But what could they remake? Just the visuals alone? Yeah, sure, they will have to improve upon it. Monsters are going to be updated, reworked as well as to some extent. The zombies, they're not really zombies though, and so they're really, you have to consider how they're going to go with this route. Are they going to just take some of the resources from the Resident Evil 2 and 3 and just simply plug into the Resident Evil 4? Well, that's going to, a lot of people may see this as a laziness and just, cutting cuts, basically, cutting content and stuff like that. Maybe some things are going to be way too difficult to implement, so they're just going to take some of the resources back from Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, and apply them into Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, a lot of people would not want to see this. Now, again, because the annual release now, since they are making it, yes, I understand they started working this on the 2018. Full production value, they'll start in 2020. There's a big difference. 2 years, that's how long they're going to be making this game, not 4 years. That's important for a lot of people to understand. 2 years is not enough to make a great game. 3 years, sometimes it's also kind of a subjective wise, but it depends on the developers themselves and how experienced in this they are. 4 years is a sweet spot. 3 years is minimum, 4 years is a sweet spot, 5 years, okay, you're actually trying to make something brilliant. Of course, if you are putting your talents into use and actually want to create a game. You can make a game for 10 years and can end up still being shit, as an example. Well, Rockstar Games has, bit of a combination, a bit of a contrast. Rockstar Games, they create their games like half a decade, even a decade, and yet when they release their games, it's a bloody phenomena, for real, and that's great. I personally think it's great, and they should just keep on doing that sort of thing. Well, though a lot of people don't like the way they have to wait for so long for the next game. But anyway, we still got so many games out there. Resident Evil 4, as the way it is now, it's very difficult for it to be remade. It really is, right? Because that was a pretty much a third-person experience for the first time. A lot of people got to experience it back in 2005. That's when it was first released. It's been 15 years since its release. And Remake, is it time for it? Yes, I really do believe so. Yes, the game is outdated as hell. I understand a lot of people may not agree with me. I played it. I know what I'm talking about. It is outdated. And if they take the combat from Resident Evil 2 and 3 into Resident Evil 4, that's going to be great. But if we are talking about a remake, that's not enough. For full price, that's not enough. It's basically saying we remastered the game completely, but we included some extra stuff. That's just a remaster then, it's not a remake. And so it's not going to be worth the full price, you know what I mean? And again, hopefully they're not going to implement any of these online components, like resistance as an example. Please stop with that. That was just... what was that? Anyway, it wasn't even it was just half-assed done for as well. Wow. And anyway, as of recording this radio as well, by the way, guys, there's been an update as well. There's actually a lot more alleged details regarding the merging of the Capcom's Resident Evil 4 remake in project. So meaning that there's a lot more coming in. For example, that the co-developers by parts of the Resident Evil 2 and Devil May Cry 5 team are going to be including in this as well. So that's going to be interesting to see what they can actually have into this. Again, maybe I should just plug in a few of my thoughts as well. Perhaps they're not necessarily what people will agree with me on. Maybe some of you will, but personally, I think they need to take a year break. I think they need to concentrate on whatever they want to make, right? Resident Evil 8, they should push that back a little further. If not, at least push Resident Evil 4 remake a little further away from 2022. Bring her over to 2023 instead. It's understandable. Resident Evil 4 right now, like from 2005, is still a good game, don't get me wrong, even though it is outdated. But still, I think they need to wait. Don't become like fucking Call of Duty shit, like annual releases, FIFA bullshit. No, please no. And I'm not saying as if like, oh, they can't go wrong. Really? Look at the Resident Evil 3. They already did very wrong with that game. So I don't want them to repeat the same mistakes that they have already done with the Resident Evil 3. I understand again, but that there was a secondary studio. They are not as experienced as the studio from the Resident Evil 2 when they were creating it. Still, they had a lot of assets, still had a lot of resources to make the game as best as they can, but ended up being half-length, even more than that, COD content to the fullest. Resident Evil 2, even though that had COD content, at least that made it far better of a game than actually Resident Evil 3 ended up being. Resident Evil 4 should not get any COD content. In fact, it should include the content if you want to be based on. Because, look, the game is not a fixed camera motion. This is a third-person perspective. What is there going to be to remake? I don't really know, except the visualization and improvements to the frame rates as well. And sure, and some of the things they can definitely improve upon, a few of the things they can actually change, a few things of course, maybe some of the things they can reimagine it to. But remake is going to be very difficult and justified to give it a sale. I'm sure a lot of people will still buy it, they're big fans of Resident Evil 4, and that's the reason. Alright, well, I think I dragged this long enough. I do apologize about that. Thank you so much for watching anyway. Like I mentioned, please do take a look at those other two videos. Code Veronica deserves a remake, and so goes with Resident Evil 4, deserving a remake. And yeah, alright. Thank you again so much for watching. Like and subscribe. See you guys all, and have a good one.